Okay, let's go down the demonic ties rabbit hole. So, demonic ties, I believe, came out in 1992, and it was part of a wave of killer doll movies made in the wake of the success of the Child's Play franchise. So I remember vividly begging my parents to fucking let me watch this thing. One night at 10 o'clock, they used to have movies on. If you're from the UK or Ireland, there was Sky Movies. And they used to play, movies at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock. They used to repeat all the time. And for a while there, we didn't have a VHS player. We had this instead. And I saw all sorts of shit in the early 90s because of it. I'd already seen Child's Play 2, which I was a major fan of at the time. There was other ones like Dolly Dearest. I remember begging my father to let me watch this one. We rented this one. Trimark again. Look, it had good special effects. It's not a great movie. Dolls is a higher quality. This is probably the hidden gem of the killer doll movies. This is Stuart Gordon. Actually, Puppet Master One kind of feels like a rip off of Dolls. I unfortunately never got to see Dolls when I was very young, but I remember the video cover very well. It used to terrify me. I would have seen the cover for this. Like I can literally smell the tapes. They used to have this kind of dust on them. Oh, if you're young and you never got to experience an old video store, I feel sorry for you because it's something that can never be repeated. In the world now where you can just stream movies endlessly, it's taken the value out of them. It's like Xbox Game Pass is taking the value out of games. It's great to have everything at your fingertips, but there was nothing quite like going into a video store, especially with child's eyes, and just going through looking at all the tapes and the promise of what the film might be. You had to experience it to understand it. But anyway, Demonic Ties will stay on brand here, and we're going to take a look at the director and see what other stuff I was going to say shite that he directed. Tracy Scoggins. Who's she again? Hang on now. Let's have a look at Tracy Scoggins. Watchers 2 she was in. Okay, if you never saw Watchers, it was a Dean Coates story about an alien. Like it was like not an alien, sorry, a genetic experiment gone wrong, much like The Fly 2, sort of. So what's his name was in the first one. God rest him. Corey Haim. He was in Watchers 1. See the poster there. So I never really went down the Watchers rabbit hole, but I actually read the book. It was a very good book. Let's take a look at the creature effects. That's where it's at with these things. Is seeing the creature. Yeah, see, that's Watchers too. Okay, looks like there was a step down on the special effects. Pretty cool monster costume though. But yeah, they revolve around the dog. Um, Actually, speaking of which, I thought it was worth noting that John Lafia, the director of, oh, he passed away. The director of Child's Play also directed Man's Best Friend. Man's Best Friend is a pretty decent killer dog movie from the early 90s. See, from the same era. I've seen all these things around the same time. I believe this was Guildhome Video. It's listed as a comedy. I didn't think it was a comedy back in the day. It basically, the dog could turn into like the Predator, more or less. Um, Look at that. They were milking the whole Terminator 2 cycle. Ali Sheedy. So, anyway, that's Man's Best Friend, directed by the guy who directed Child's Play 2. There's a Watchers 3, Dean Coots. Okay, they went full Predator in this one. Look at that thing. Anyway, Demonic Ties is kind of a franchise. Let's take a look. Dollman versus Demonic Ties. Charles Band himself directed Dollman versus Demonic Ties. Sort of if you mixed Escape from New York with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids and made it shit. Okay. Demonic Ties actually has a pretty decent rating on IMDb, 5.1. I'm surprised by that. Not as good as Puppet Master, but still watchable. So, who's Peter Manoogian? I bet he's often directed loads of interesting stuff. So he's directed 14 movies. What's his biggest hit? None. Arena. So, you know, like basically it's like MMA fighting with aliens before MMA was a thing, basically. So it's kind of like if you got the cantina from Star Wars and you made them all MMA fighters. But is it any good? That woman, Claudia Christian. I know, I recognize her head. Hey, look, she was in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Additional voices. That's pretty cool. Strays, I seen that movie. That's a fucking killer cat movie. Um, they say cats have 9 lives. Yeah, look, there she is. She's so fucking familiar. I'm not gonna rest until I find out. I seen Mom. You've never seen that? That's an interesting movie. It's about a mother that's like some sort of demon. Um, yeah, look, pretty cool. She was in a gnome named Norm. A Los Angeles police detective partners up with a talking gnome in order to bring down the head of a crime ring. I mean, what the fuck? So she was in Maniac Cop 2. Okay, great. Clean and sober. That's how I fucking know her. She's like this like yuppie cokehead. It was an addiction movie. It was like I think it was actually Michael Keaton's first foray into trying to be a serious actor. You know, he was more known for comedy before that, and he was trying to break into the more serious stuff. There she is in group therapy, and I knew her ahead. That's a decent movie. I mean, it's not amazing, but it's solid. In the addiction drama subgenre, it's one of the good ones. Tate Donovan is in it. Look, that's the guy that was in the OC. Okay, did you did you stick around for the wonder into who this girl was? Claudia Christian. Well, fair play. She was good in that. Clean and sober. Now, the universe has corrected itself, you know. So she was in Arena. Well, back to Arena. Peter Manoogian, who also directed, let's see, The Dungeon Master, segment Cave Beast. I don't think I ever heard of this movie. This looks cool. This looks like a good movie. Look at that werewolf in the background. I don't know about you, but I love a good werewolf movie. That looks like stop motion animation. That thing looks like it's about to take off Jason and the Argonaut style. Eliminators. Oh, I've seen this movie. This is sort of actually this comes up as it predates RoboCop, and some people think that it inspired RoboCop. Obviously, looking at it, it was inspired by the Terminator. Denise Crosby. Is she a one from Star Trek: The Next Generation? She is indeed. This thing in the cinema. Low budget sci-fi movie. Yeah, this one was actually theatrically released. $4.5 million. Hey, he kind of looks a bit like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Do you think that's on purpose? Patrick Reynolds, who is he? There, he kind of looks like if you AI'd Michael Biehn and Arnold Schwarzenegger, you'd get that guy. That's kind of weird. He didn't do much actually. He was the Mandroid in Eliminators. That is an awesome poster. The poster, for some reason, reminds me of Star Chaser: The Legend of Orion. That's the one. That's the one I had. Um, if you've never seen Star Chaser, it's really, really, really like Star Wars. There's nothing like this being made now. But anyway, the cover reminds me of the cover from Eliminators. There's just something about it. I think it's the way they're all face forward with their weapons. That's exactly what it is. What else have we got here? We're going to go to Seed People. See what that's about. Andrea Rott. It's got that small town taken over by aliens thing going on. The first two Critters movies were like that, as was The Deadly Spawn. To a lesser extent, Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Oh, Andrea Rott. She was in, I know, as Crossworlds, which, if you've never seen it, was sort of a low budget but ambitious sci fi fantasy movie that has a similar plot to The Dark Tower. It's about, like the chosen one being on Earth, and Rutger Hauer is basically Morpheus, and he has to come and, bring the chosen one to save the multiverse. So, kind of ahead of its time. It's basically not that different from the new Marvel movies. And Josh Charles, who was in Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, was the star of it. It's not a terrible movie. It reminds me actually of Beowulf. But as a side note, Rona Mitra, who starred in, there she is, she was the very first Lara Croft. And if you don't know, like Tomb Raider was obviously a big, big deal in the early 90s. Rona Mitra was the first kind of live action model that that played her. And she was in lots of video game magazines. And Rona Mitra got her break doing that. She never really made it big, big. But she's, A-list adjacent. In that kind of way. Does that really relate to Crossworlds? I suppose it doesn't, know, but you learned about Beowulf and you learned about Rona Mitra, so maybe that's the price of admission. I'm not sure. We'll go full circle and we'll finish up with Devil Dolls. So Full Moon basically kept knocking out these things for years, like the Puppet Master films, Demonic Toys, Devil Dolls. I presume it's because they have so many of the little puppets made, so they could just keep making them, and they made money. I believe the Puppet Master franchise is one of the longest running horror franchises ever, strangely enough, as was Subspecies, Retro Puppet Master, Puppet Master Access Termination. There's so many of these things. So, like a lot of these directors, they start off with promise. So, Eliminators was theatrically released, as we discussed. And by the end, then, it's Carnage Collection Forbidden Freaks, because they just don't make movies like this anymore. Not with the quality they had in the 80s, and the 90s. I don't know about you, but I would not watch Carnage Collection Forbidden Freaks. But I would happily sit down and watch Seed People. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway from this was that you learned that Rona Mitra was Lara Croft.